put your brush to capturing my wife.
She's a rare beauty.
They'll say, look at that lucky old dog. Didn't he have a lovely young wife?
He would find us. He would not stop looking for me unless I was dead.
My lord, I pray that my wife shall be...
In the 17th century Dutch Republic, a narrator who serves Sophia shares a tale of a time when trade thrived in the city. The narrator explains how the Dutch Republic was captivated by a valuable Eastern flower known as the tulip, a luxury item so precious that it often left people in debt. This flower was a game changer for the people of the Dutch Republic. Sophia is about to marry Cornelis, with the promise of a comfortable life if she bears him an heir. The Mother Superior bids her farewell. In exchange for her sacrifice, Sophia's siblings are sent to New Amsterdam for a better life, and she leaves the orphanage. 3 years have passed since Sophia left the orphanage, and she is now the mistress of Cornelis's house. However, they have not been blessed with children yet, as Cornelis faces some fertility issues. Cornelis is advised to send Sophia back to the orphanage due to their childlessness, but he grants her a grace period of 6 months. Her seamstress advises her to maintain her allure, hinting that 3 years of childless marriage might reflect poorly on her value, suggesting she could be ousted if she fails to conceive. Consequently, she strives to remain appealing. The narrator, Maria, who attends to Sophia, recalls this era as a cherished time, for Sophia treats her akin to a sister. During one meal, as Maria serves fish, Cornelis expresses irritation, tired of its frequent appearance, and insinuates that Maria might be involved with a fisherman. Unbeknownst to him, Maria secretly loves Willem, a fishmonger, and they plan a rendezvous. Later that night, as the couple tries again to conceive, Willem stealthily enters Maria's room below the house, and they share an intimate moment. Amidst this, Sophia diligently upholds her role as a committed wife, regularly visiting the apothecary and consulting with the doctor. Her visit to the doctor is prompted by a suggestion from her dressmaker, Mrs. Ortvold, who believes consulting a physician about conception is a wise course of action. During her consultation with Dr. Sorg, Sophia expresses her desperation to bear a son for Cornelis. She is motivated by the prospect of securing her position in a life free from poverty. Dr. Sorg, however, employs a method unknown to the unsuspecting Sophia. As their meeting unfolds, Dr. Sorg leads Sophia to a room with a bed. To Sophia's shock, Dr. Sorg begins undressing, and in her astonishment, she reacts by slapping him, cursing him, and hastily making her escape. During a particularly fierce storm, Cornelis fervently prays while Sophia contemplates deeply. As the weather clears, Sophia and Maria venture to the market. Night after night, Cornelis continues his prayers for a successful conception, and they repeatedly attempt to have a child without success. Cornelis decides to commission a painter to immortalize their image. Matthias, a womanizer whom Cornelis has hired to find a suitable artist, searches the art world for talent. Among the artists considered is Jan van Loos, who offers reasonable prices for his work. However, during a studio visit, potential clients find his paintings lacking the desired passion and obsession. Cornelis wants their portrait painted, as it will be his only legacy for having a beautiful young wife in case they don't have a single child. Determined to have his portrait and Sophia's painted, Cornelis decides to commission Jan for the work. Matthias arranges the negotiation terms for Cornelis. When Jan arrives at the Sandvoort home, Maria greets him at the door, and he soon begins to outline his artistic vision to Cornelis, who, eager to display his sophistication, requests specific enhancements. As Sophia makes her entrance in a stunning blue dress, Jan is captivated by her elegance and begins to sketch the couple for their portrait. Meanwhile, Maria sneaks into the couple's bedroom, trying on Sophia's dresses and jewelry. In another scene, Sophia poses for her portrait with Jan. Concurrently, Willem attends the bustling tulip market, where he participates in the fervent bidding for prized white tulip bulbs, considered a lucrative investment due to their escalating market value. Back at the Sandvoort residence, Jan finds his artistic focus disrupted by Cornelis's constant interjections as he paints Sophia. Jan decides to recreate the pose in his own studio, using a mannequin and Garrett as a model. Sophia initially expresses her reservations about Jan due to his expense, but later that night, she changes her mind and wants him to come back and finish the portrait. Meanwhile, Willem continues his affair with Maria and softens up to the idea of marriage. He also discovers the certification of the tulips. Jan returns to complete the portrait, and during this time, he realizes he has fallen in love with Sophia. Overwhelmed, he rushes out of his studio. Simultaneously, Sophia leaves her home under a cloak. claiming to be going to Mrs. Overvelt. Both Sophia and Jan secretly visit each other's homes, leading to a clandestine affair. Maria, aware of the situation, smiles sheepishly. Later, a man's lifeless body with a slit neck is found in the canal. Sophia reveals a letter from Jan to Cornelis, in which Jan requests tulips from Cornelis. This intensifies the already complicated situation. Cornelis asks Sophia to take the tulips to Jan, which she does the following morning. When Sophia arrives at Jan's home, she's nervous and their affair intensifies as they become intimate. Despite their secret affair, Jan continues to work on the portraits of the Sandford. During his visit to the orphanage, Willem meets with the abbess, who gives him a tour and explains that the girls are raised to be maids, wives, or novices as they mature. The street, Ursula orphanage, also cultivates tulips, and Willem provides them with white bulbs. As they stroll through the garden, Willem is captivated by a unique white tulip marked with a crimson streak. The abbess identifies it as a breaker, the rarest tulip variety, noting that Mr. Prater had sold these bulbs at a lower rate. She encourages Willem to plant the rare tulip, which he decides to place outside Maria's window. The following morning, Maria, expecting Willem, opens the door only to find a different visitor. Meanwhile, Willem resolves to sell his entire fish market business. Cornelis plans his usual outing with friends, expecting Sophia to join, but she falls ill and stays home, prompting Cornelis to attend alone. Meanwhile, Willem continues to visit tulip bidding markets to sell the tulip bulbs and gives Mr. Prater money for the orphanage. The girls at the tavern become interested in Willem when they see that he's rich. Sophia, feeling rebellious, steals Maria's cloak and goes out. Willem, on his way to the Sandwards, spots someone he thinks is Maria and rushes after her. However, he sees Sophia entering another house and kissing Jan, mistakenly thinking that Maria is having an affair. This discovery angers him greatly. Meanwhile, Cornelis goes to play cards with his old friends, and they discuss tulip prices. While Cornelis is away, Sophia is deeply in love with Jan. Jan sketches Sophia. In the Niggis, they share their life stories. Jan asks about Sophia's family, a subject nobody has ever inquired about before. Sophia reveals that her parents passed when she was young. When the bell rings, signaling Cornelis' imminent return, Sophia must leave and return home. In despair, Willem goes to the tavern, thoroughly drunk and upset. A girl approaches him, attempting to seduce him, but Willem rebuffs her. In the process, the girl steals his money. Realizing what has happened, Willem insults the girl, calling her dirty. One of the girl's brothers intervenes, leading to a scuffle. During the altercation, Willem is pushed into the Dutch Navy, where he will remain for a year before returning. Sophia returns home, but to her surprise, Cornelis has arrived earlier than expected. She discreetly brings back Maria's cloak, which awakens Maria. Sophia rushes up the stairs, trying to create the illusion that she has been at home all day. Just before Cornelis discovers her, timing it perfectly, she slips under the sheets, engaging in their nightly ritual aimed at procreation. The next morning, Maria feels a mix of confusion and frustration upon hearing rumors of Willem's sudden departure, believed to have gone to sea, though details remain unclear. She is heartbroken, having thought Willem loved her deeply. To complicate matters further, Maria discovers she is pregnant with Willem's child, a fact unknown to him. As an unmarried woman, she fears the societal repercussions and lack of family support. Expecting that Sophia might dismiss her, Maria braces for the worst. However, she is taken aback when Sophia, instead of casting her out, extends her support. However, Maria resorts to threatening Sophia, leveraging her knowledge of Sophia's affair as a bargaining chip to prevent Sophia from revealing her pregnancy to Cornelis. The narrator, Maria, expresses regret and shame for resorting to such tactics, but feels she has no other choice. Jan finishes the portrait, and Sophia tells him that Maria knows about their affair and will tell Cornelis when the time comes. Later that night, Sophia hears a commotion downstairs and discovers that Cornelis is awake and seems to be in distress. She comforts him, and Cornelis shares his troubled thoughts with Sophia. He tells her about a child being taken from him while sparing his wife and how another child was taken later, leading him to believe that he's being punished by God. Cornelis feels that he wishes to save the child and take the mother, and in return, God punished him by taking both children. Sophia attempts to uplift his spirits, assuring Cornelis that God has forgiven him. In an attempt to bring some joy into the situation, Sophia tells a white lie, claiming that she is pregnant. This news fills Cornelis with happiness, as he sees it as a chance to become a father once more. Meanwhile, Maria, who has been eavesdropping, enters the room with the vase but stumbles, accidentally breaking it. She cries, thinking that the vase was very valuable. Surprisingly, Cornelis doesn't care about the vase and forgives Maria immediately, as he is in an unusually jovial and forgiving mood. Sophia reveals her elaborate plan to Maria, detailing how they can save Maria and escape with Jan. The plan involves Sophia pretending to be pregnant while Maria conceals her own pregnancy. Sophia intends to give birth in the house, with Maria taking care of the baby. This way, if Cornelis claims the child is his, Maria secures her position, and Sophia can be with Jan. However, Jan and Maria find this plan highly improbable, while Sophia remains confident. Sophia seeks the assistance of a doctor, Dr. Sorg, to stage the pregnancy and have it verified by a real physician. During the act, Dr. Sorg nearly takes advantage of Sophia, but she firmly rebuffs his advances with a slap. Dr. Sorg provides further directives, strongly advising that Cornelis should avoid physical contact with Sophia until the baby is born, suggesting they occupy separate bedrooms. When Cornelis queries about the baby's gender, Dr. Sorg deceitfully claims it is a boy, leading Sophia to abruptly force Cornelis out of the room. Dr. Sorg then turns his attention to the actual pregnant woman, Maria, questioning whether they can successfully execute their scheme. He is impressed by the women's determination and resolve. Meanwhile, Jan's finished portrait of the ladies is revealed, and in the ensuing days, they persist in maintaining the facade of Sophia's pregnancy. Cornelis departs for a business trip to Utrecht. Unbeknownst to Sophia, another woman is on his trail. During this time, Maria experiences morning sickness, so Sophia rushes to her aid. To prevent Cornelis from discovering Maria's condition, Sophia takes Maria's place and pretends to be ill. While Cornelis is away, Sophia and Jan meet at the shore and discuss their plan for escaping Cornelis. They acknowledge the urgency of their situation, as Cornelis is sure to find Sophia eventually. Sophia also opens up about her past, as she reveals that her parents passed away from the plague. However, Jan expresses the need for enough amount of money to make their escape. Jan and Jared attempt to sneak into St. Ursula with the intention of stealing the tulips. However, their plan goes awry when Jared is attacked by a swarm of swans, and Jan is knocked down by the abbess. In the morning, Jan approaches the abbess to apologize for the theft. He confesses his love for a woman, but admits he lacks the financial means to pursue a relationship with her. The abbess listens attentively while she examines the tulip bulbs. During their conversation, the abbess emphasizes the significant value of certain tulip colors. Jan becomes intrigued by the idea of investing in tulips to amass wealth. With the abbess's guidance, he enters the tulip business and begins making bids and purchases at the tavern. The tulip market experiences a frenzy as prices triple within a month, but it's a risky investment due to the potential for tulip values to plummet. Despite the danger, Jan becomes deeply involved in learning how to purchase the rarest tulip bulbs. Meanwhile, Maria's pregnancy is in its advanced stages and Sophia takes over the household chores in her place. Jan decides to order a set of tulip bulbs with unique forms and returns to the orphanage, where he negotiates their prices with the abbess. Willem remains missing, causing Maria considerable distress. As Maria returns from the market one day, she suddenly goes into labor. Cornelis is nearby, and Sophia quickly capitalizes on the situation by pretending she is the one in labor, urgently sending Cornelis to summon the midwife. Meanwhile, Jan busies himself with arranging their getaway, including securing boat tickets. Dr. Sorg arrives to aid with Maria's childbirth and seizes the moment to probe Cornelis about Sophia's supposed symptoms, attempting to lay the groundwork for the belief that Sophia might not survive the childbirth. Concurrently, Garrett visits the Sandvort residence, puzzled by the unfolding events. Cornelis, distressed by Dr. Sorg's questioning, implores the doctor to focus on saving Sophia should a critical decision arise, prioritizing her life over the baby's. Sophia overhears this conversation at the door and feels guilty for deceiving Cornelis. Maria begins to give birth, and the baby arrives safely. However, Sophia and Maria need to switch places as part of their plan. On the other side of town, Jan returns to the tavern and realizes that the tulip prices are plummeting. He attempts to sell the tulip named Admiral Maria, which Willem named, to the highest bidder. However, it appears that no one is interested in buying it. Dr. Sorg comes downstairs to inform Cornelis that a baby girl has been born. But when Cornelis inquires about Sophia's condition, Dr. Sorg indicates that Sophia did not survive the childbirth. Later, Cornelis enters the room and Maria is holding the newborn baby. He sees Sophia lying on the bed, seemingly lifeless. Dr. Sorg explains that it's due to contagion, a severe fever, and advises Cornelis not to touch her. Cornelis is furious because he had specifically instructed Dr. Sorg to spare Sophia. He is escorted away as the room needs to be sanitized, preventing him from kissing or touching Sophia, who appears warm. Sophia sheds a tear for deceiving Cornelis. Back in the tavern, the girl, the lowly escort who robbed Willem, initiates a bid at 400 and the crowd becomes frenzied, rapidly raising their offers to 500 and higher. Sophia is immediately placed in a casket, and Cornelis mourns her apparent passing. The casket, with Sophia still alive inside, is taken away in a boat to an unknown destination. Meanwhile, Maria still has the baby and visits Cornelis, who is still grieving. Cornelis asks Maria to call a wet nurse to feed the baby since the alleged mother has passed. However, Maria is the actual wet nurse but tells Cornelis that the wet nurse arrived earlier. She attempts to comfort Cornelis by suggesting that it is God's will that Sophia was taken and that he has been given a daughter. Maria vows to care for the newborn as though it were her own, which in reality it is, since she is the true mother. Cornelis, filled with love, takes the infant into his arms and names her Sophia, wholly convinced that she is indeed his child. Dr. Sorg then levies an additional fee on Jan for maintaining the silence of everyone involved in the deception. Meanwhile, Jan, who has accumulated wealth, faces a crowd of men at his house demanding payment in the price Tulip bulb. Dr. Sorg directs Jan to send someone to distribute money and retrieve the bulb. Jan tasks Garrett with this mission, cautioning him sternly to steer clear of alcohol and avoid drinking. Garrett proceeds to carry out his duties while battling the urge to drink. Subsequently, Jan and a woman proceed to unlock Sophia's casket and liberate her. However, Sophia is overwhelmed with guilt and breaks down in tears for what she has done. Jan and the woman stand by, just watching. Back in the Abbey, Garrett successfully arrives and presents the certification to Mr. Davy. The Mother Superior gifts him a bulb of onion. With the certification in hand, Garrett leaves with the money. Meanwhile, Jan and the other creditors eagerly await Garrett's arrival, but to their surprise, he isn't the one who shows up. Jan waits anxiously, growing more uneasy with each passing moment. On the other hand, Sophia contemplates returning, getting cold feet about the plan to escape. Eventually, Sophia decides to leave. Later, Garrett finds himself in a brawl, intervening as a man is being beaten. His heroic act earns him praise, but things take a downturn when he starts drinking. His one and only task is tossed out of the window. Sophia escapes and attempts to return to the old house, draped in black. However, as she comes back, she witnesses Cornelis carrying Maria's baby. Marveling at how tenderly Cornelis cradles the newborn, she pauses, contemplating whether to reveal herself or not. After a moment of hesitation, she decides against it, realizing there's no going back and no clear path forward. She keeps running, throwing away her blue cloak in the process. Meanwhile, Garrett abandons the money. Shortly after, Willem arrives from his service and rushes to see Maria. Maria, occupied with caring for her own baby, opens up to Willem. However, her mood shifts to anger and she attacks Willem when he reveals he has been to Africa. Despite the confrontation, Willem is relieved to find out that Maria has never cheated on him. Hearing the commotion, Cornelis becomes curious and overhears their argument, eventually learning the shocking truth. Sophia is having an affair with the painter, and the new baby is Willem and Maria's. The agony Cornelis endures is indescribable now without a wife and seemingly without a baby. Garrett finally arrives, unfortunately in a drunken state and without the essential package, leaving Cornelis to face his creditors who depart with menacing threats. With no other options, Maria confesses the entire truth to Cornelis. Initially stoic, Cornelis eventually responds by formally recognizing Maria and Willem's union and granting his blessing for them to raise the child. He forgives Maria and somberly proclaims the fall of the Sandvoort household. In his letter, Cornelis also confronts his own misdeeds and his treatment of Sophia. He decides to cede the house to Maria and Willem, stipulating that the child must remain his heir to shield his name from further disgrace. Cornelis then departs for the Dutch East Indies. Meanwhile, Sophia has long gone, and to make matters worse, the tulip market bubble has finally burst. Jan, running after Sophia, spots her blue cloak and fears the worst, that she has drowned her children. Following the government's ban on tulip trading, the market crashed, plunging people into poverty and rendering once valuable products like tulips worthless. After an 8-year span, Jan persists in capturing Sophia on canvas while dwelling in the attic of Jan's house. The Mother Superior arrives to deliver news of a patron, which is the church, and offers a job to enhance Abby's aesthetics through painting the murals. A queue of nuns arrives later. Looking down from the scaffold, Jan gazes downward, spotting Sophia in monastic attire. She has embraced convent life, and as their eyes meet, they exchange affectionate smiles. The Mother Superior seems to have noticed or has planned the unexpected reunion, as she smiles herself. Cornelis has found a new life and a family to love in the Dutch East Indies, although far from luxury. Maria and Willem's family has expanded, and Sophia has grown up. Despite these changes, the new family in the Sandward house still honors Cornelis. Maria also very much honors Sophia, thanking her that Maria can take care of her child without being ostracized and being subjected to poverty. Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.